How is everyone today? Today is, I believe today is the day that the microphone is getting here. Yeah, I'm so tired. I was like, oh, it says out for delivery, so it's here. It's like close. Like hopefully it gets here today. Hopefully tomorrow you guys are like, wow, that's what your voice actually sounds like. That's what I'm going for anyway. So we shall see. Anyway, I'm just out with the kids. You're still out. Are you road tripping, Ernest? Is that what you were doing? Are you like road tripping, vacationing? I was wondering if that's what you were doing because you said it yesterday. I was like, eh. I mean, your kids are the right age for that. Your kids are basically grown and going to be out any second, right? So I feel like now is the time for you to get all those last little road trips and stuff in. So makes sense. Makes sense. Um, anyway, so there is some large movement, but it wasn't like an instant spike or whatever. Yen is really kind of in play right now, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with the yen. Um, Actually, just this morning, we just had a news article a little while ago. Where is it? Well, I guess 9 hours ago, right? That's Taiwan says that China has invaded Taiwan's territorial space. Um, and of course, Nancy's over there pissing everybody off. Like, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. It's like, I don't know. So yeah, Nancy's like, yeah, we're gonna meet with them. We're great. We'll protect them. It's like, it's a little bit different of a scenario. Like the world doesn't recognize Taiwan, so it's nice that we are like this right here. We won't abandon Taiwan in the face of Chinese pressure. It's like, Nancy, the world doesn't recognize Taiwan, so it's not, this is not the Ukraine. Little bit different, right? Ukraine, everybody recognized them. Taiwan, no, not so much. So, yeah, interesting scenario. So we're just trying to piss everybody off at this point. We're gonna have the two, that we're literally trying to pee on the fire, right? Of what was considered the largest threat to the United States, and yeah. So, gonna be interesting. Anyway, we got some interesting CPI data. Was not quite as, I guess I don't want to say bad, right? They expected the inflation to go down, but that was actually a good thing, right? So not quite as good as what we thought, even though it's green, right? And then Spanish and services came in actually on a positive side, which that's actually a good thing, right? It's not as bad as what we thought. The PIP change over the last 24 hours. Euro pound, very, very flat. Aussie dollar, flat. Dollar CAD, flat. Dollar Swiss up a little bit. Again, we had some Swiss data. Yen's the one that's getting really hammered for the most part. And again, 248 in the dollar yen. It's a big amount, right? So, and then 70 and 51, not that much. We have services data coming in at 10 o'clock today, so that's going to be obviously a number that we want to watch. OPEC this morning. So interesting comments out of OPEC. Um, you know, Russia basically saying that, listen, we're seeing global demand kind of come back again, or it's looking like it's at pre-pandemic levels. Which again, exactly what we're looking for. I mean, that's great news. Like that's what we were looking for. Talking about how they fulfilled their contract. There was all the talk about how Russia was going to be unable to fulfill their contracts because of everything was so bad, and that doesn't seem like that is the case. They are reaffirming that they were able to fill all their contracts to 100%, which again, I don't think they ever had the ability not to. That's what some people were saying. Like, look, they can't even fulfill their contracts. OPEC Plus did affirm it, and this is kind of interesting. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. It's where is it? This one right here. Basically, they were talking about it's almost certain they're going to do this, right? But they hadn't voted on it yet, but they're most likely going to vote it. And then, like, minutes later, they said they agreed to a very small increase. So it's basically about 100,000 barrels a day. That is not really that much. So again, it is a very small amount. So, not a bad thing that there's an approval, but it was not very, very large, right? Not a very, very large one. So we'll see where it all goes with that. So again, increase 100,000, not that much. There'll be a response back again, but yeah, starting in September, so it's not even like a now thing. So that should help gas prices a little bit more, again, bringing more supply back online, and then again, maybe oil continues to drop. Like I said, I mean, it's great that we're talking about demand is increasing, but at the same time, they did make some comments about there's uncertainty. And if you want to read that article and kind of dive into a little bit more, they talk about it here, and it's right here, right? The meeting noted the dynamic and rapidly evolving oil market fundamentals, market conditions. Noted that there are severely limited availability of excess capacity that necessitates utilizing it in great caution. So again, they're kind of putting all this like the opposite side of it there, right? And again, they're talking about how there's the chronic underinvestment in the oil sector, which again, true. It's been they've been trying to get away from it forever. Nothing new that we didn't already know there. They're just stating the obvious, and a lot of that is kind of a gripe with the United States, but it is what it is. It is definitely a sector that is underfunded, right, as far as the investment, but again, not unjustifiably so. But they are noting it. Um, anyway, besides that, we got services today at 10 o'clock. Bullard was speaking today, and I think Bullard made some interesting comments, talking about, a better bet is that it will take a while for inflation to come down to 2%. 100% agree with that one. It's not an instantaneous thing. It says to get inflation coming down in a convincing way, we're going to have to be higher for longer. Now, this is something that all the recession dogs out there are like, yeah, see? And I think that he's kind of nailed this one on the head. Yeah, I mean, you can't just raise it one time and be like, that's it, everything goes back to normal. It builds up and then goes back down again. It's not an instantaneous process. So again, everybody's kind of said we're going to have to get used to these rates, and getting it back to 2% doesn't bring us back down to the prices that we're used to. Okay, so now that gas prices are coming under $4 where I live, that was the main driver. We're not really seeing the CPI numbers come back the same way. It's like, well, wait a second. Before, everything was all, oil. It's all in the energies. That's where all the inflation is. Well, if that's coming back down, and we're seeing inflation still continue to maintain a high level, that means it's spread into other things, like I said. So it's a slower effect, but again, Bullard making some comments. We'll see if there's possibly some more coming out pretty soon. This is going to be a big one here. Taiwan says China has invaded. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what the end game is here. I'm not sure, again, if we have one battlefront with Russia and we have one battlefront with China, typically you don't really want to spread yourself that thin, so I'm not exactly sure why we're going down this route. Yeah, especially because this one on the world spectrum is a little bit hairier, right? Like I said, most countries, the only countries that really acknowledge them are little tiny third world countries. Almost all the large nations do not actually recognize them as a country. So kind of hard to say, hey, listen, we're going to go protect those guys. And again, remember, you thought supply chain was bad before. If we get into some type of I'm going to send weapons and arms, yeah. You want to see supply chain disruptions? Holy crap. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. Anyway, tomorrow morning, got a lot of pound data coming out, right? Expected to raise interest rates again, 0.5. And again, this is extremely important for the pound. I think some of the movement today is going to be, again, preparing for that. The UK has done this 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. And now they're actually going to do the jump from a 0.5. Remember, their inflationary numbers last time were like 9.6 or something like that. Like, it was insane how high it was in the last year. And again, they've already had the recessionary issues where it's like, oh God, we're going in a recession. That's it. That's two. It's official. And they're still having inflation go. So this is kind of a big deal tomorrow. This is what we're looking at. I think if it comes in at 0.25, it's going to be huge movement. Huge movement. I think the market has got most of it factored in, but I'm dying to hear what Bailey has to say. And again, that's at 7:30 a.m. I think he could say a lot of things, and I think, yeah, I really want to see how he paints this. Like, we're gonna do one, and then we're gonna kind of stop and see how everything. Like, is this a one done and watch, or is this going to be like, hey, listen, we need to get ahead of this because it is hurting our economy already. The inflation is driving us into a recession. It sucks. Inflation can drive you into a recession, and then at the same time, you can also have, the cure for the. It's like chemotherapy, right? The cure, and I don't want to say cure because it's kind of the wrong term, but chemotherapy goes in and wipes out good cells and bad cells. It's kind of like the same thing. You raise interest rate, it's wiping out all the growth that caused the inflation, but at the same time, so it's kind of like a double whammy there. So yeah, kind of hard stuff on that one. But I think what Bailey says tomorrow is going to be extremely important, and that's going to be on before we're there. and then we have the U.S. unemployment claim. So we got some big numbers in the next 24 hours. As well as oil inventory today, but I don't think the oil inventory today is going to necessarily be a big deal because everybody's looking at these production cuts. There may be some small trading, and we'll look to see if it's basing and kind of doing a setup for us. But I think really with the OPEC Plus announcement and increase, that's going to be really the main driving factor right now. That's the big news as far as what's going to happen in oil. But some of these things right now, again, look at this, zero, like not tons of movement, right? All right, let's go over to the chart. So start off with the VIX. Yesterday morning we talked about the VIX should deteriorate, and it did. And then we hit about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This may have been like the Pelosi comments about how they're backing up. I think that was yesterday afternoon is when I first started seeing the Pelosi and Taiwan thing. And again, if you guys are not familiar with it, this is actually a really really huge deal. Again, Will could probably speak more on it as well, doing a lot of business and stuff like that with China, but. This is a very huge deal. I mean, there are entire weapon systems built just for this conflict on both sides, particularly on China's side. And it's kind of a big issue. So again, I believe this is when the news came out. We had that spike up again, and we're seeing it deteriorate right now. Again, the VIX is really associated with the U.S. market, so we tend to see it more decline. You'd have like that initial gap, and then it tends to decline more in the overnight, and then that's where it really kind of kicks in because it is based off of options volatility, right? S&P 500, ES options. So we'll see if there's some more headlines on this one. I'm not a big Pelosi person, and I don't know if she's grandstanding, trying to do something else. I really don't know what her end game is on this one. But like I said, China is not Russia. You can try to put sanctions on China, but so far we've lost the entire head-to-head with China by putting sanctions on them in the form of tariffs, and then be like, what, we should remove tariffs to lower inflation. It's like, but China didn't change. It's a weird situation. So again, I expect the VIX is going to be again. All the news is probably out for the day, but if anything, I could see some type of a pop if we get another headline. If China comes back and makes a comment, put it this way: China's going to be very, very smart with how they go into Taiwan and what that looks like. And and again, in reality, they actually have a lot more ground to stand on than what the Ukraine does. So, on an international spectrum. Dollar. So the dollar. Yesterday, we were sitting down here, and we talked about if this rallies back up again, we like this area because at the 61.8 retracement level at 106.52, that was an area where we had a nice spike. It was a strong push in at base, and then boom, it collapsed very, very fast away. And it did late last night. Around 10 o'clock, I guess around 8 o'clock, we ended up gapping at the end of the day. We ended up hitting that 106.52 dead on, and then literally turned and rolled back down again, and had a decent pushback on it. So, again, there was something that we saw in the overnight. We expected it to happen yesterday, and it did. It rolled up. So, when it comes back up to that level, that 106.52, I think it is going to be probably another selling area, selling opportunity. Compared to yesterday, yes, there's a lot of dollar strength in there, but really since late last night, it is more on the downside, and the Europeans didn't really know what to do with it. This is where the European market opened. They sent it down, and it's kind of retraced, so it's almost a complete reset in the European session. That tends to be a big deal because, you get that reset, and you're like, all right, well, now what, right? Now what? So there was no really driving factor, no true trend. And again, we tend to like trading those trends. All right. So let's start down over here with the Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, we were talking about a pop. We were looking, again, we had a profit target at 68.90. Looks like that profit target was the turning point late last night. And again, typically when we talk about a profit target, what it is it is an area where there are buyers. I mean, we could have drawn this out and said, well, wait a second, here you go. Right? There's your zone. The reason why we chose the entry a little bit lower and why we didn't get the entry in there is because typically when there's a level on top of a level, we kind of side with the more conservative. But again, wherever the profit targets are, there are buyers there. That's why we're talking about it being a profit target, taking yourself out, right? You can say, well, I'm gonna get in down here. Well, there's buyers here. You can't, right? Again, profit targets are always potential areas that you want to get in as well. In this case, we went with the more conservative, didn't get the entry, but the end movement was exactly the same. Not really any different. It pulled back up again, and now it's starting to roll. And I think it makes sense where it's rolling, Right now, I would say, again, the Europeans, really late last night, the Europeans really did not affect this market whatsoever. If you're looking to see where the trend is on this one, I mean, at least on a 30-minute, you can say it wasn't a downtrend. You have higher lows. I'm sorry, you know, lower lows, lower highs. Again, we're kind of reversing, but it really, from the European market, has lost all steam right now. Okay, so in looking at what the dollar is doing, this is why I kind of brought the dollar up. We got a little bit more strength coming in, but again, the last time it popped up to the level we're at now, we saw some dollar weakness coming in. So there are confirmed areas in here where we've seen selling in the past. If these roll forward, it also kind of flips over, and we're seeing that with the Aussie, right? We're already seeing kind of a top put in. We got a red, we got a green, and it's like, well, wait a second. We got 10 minutes before this candle closes, starting to pull back. If we print a red here, again, that's giving us a confirmation we're rolling into the U.S. session. We're seeing dollar weakness. We're seeing the Dixie-Eden area where we're turning. I would say that, again, there's probably a short in here, maybe even kind of a smaller term, kind of maybe like a little Harry Potter trade sitting somewhere in this area and just taking over the morning time frame, right? The morning movement. And it's about 30 pips back down. But I think at this point, again, we talked about the 68.90 being an area where buyers are going to step in, get yourself out. That's exactly what happened. If you use that level to get out, it did drop slightly lower. You were still able to capture your full profit on that short. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at with this one. I would say the level down here at the 50, I still think is extremely valid, the 68.68. Again, this is only a barely brief touch of this level. So again, if you're looking for something pretty, a little bit stronger, and again, maybe 1030 holds us up, maybe we don't break through, I think you need to watch out for both of these levels. And again, depending on if we're at a session open or, if there's a big news, anything big news-wise coming up, I think both these levels are potential. Again, if you are short, first profit targets, and then again, potential entries for either of those two levels. But, again, we talked about it pushing higher and ended up using the profit target, not the untested zone but down below. And again, it happens all the time. It just depends on how aggressive you want to be with things. But it was a target first, and you could say just barely got past it. Would have taken everybody out of the trade, and then started the base, and then started to move the other direction. Okay. Now Aussie yen. So Aussie yen, we talked about a short below this level. Yesterday morning we pulled up, and you can see it actually started at base, and it actually kind of formed one of those Harry Potter trade setups. It came back up at base, and then it pulled down, and it used it to go higher. Yesterday we were sitting kind of right in this level. I'm actually surprised that it kind of drove here at 11 and then kind of ran out of steam. I thought we would get a little bit more out of the yen, but we didn't. Once we started hearing more and more comments, and again, of all the ones that kind of held, after this initial kind of 9 a.m. pulse forward, it did kind of stabilize. I feel like the euro yen, pound yen, dollar yen continue to rise a lot more than this one. So right now, what I would do is I would use this level and keep it on there. And you could say, well, wait a second, we were looking for a short yesterday. Yes, we were. It was at 23.6. It was lining up. And again, sometimes they fail. You could have taken it long on the failure going up top. But now we had a base, we had a base, we had a base, and we had a base. And it drove deeper, it drove deeper, it drove deeper, it drove deeper. And again, I think next time we come through, and again, we're not going to be right 100% of the time. I'm cool with that. I mean, that's just the reality of trading. The way that it formed, the way that it drove through there, and the way that it's been testing this level, it is a level where we have, probably sellers coming in next time. And based off of kind of what the risk level is on it, this is what it looks like back to the downside. 1 to 3 is sitting right there. Profit target wise, we know that we're looking to take profit right there, which means our 1 to 3 is well within that profit range. So it is an old zone, and again, it was violated. We know that, again, the old sellers became new buyers. And again, the people that are trying to trade that 23.6 are like, and they got stopped out. And now when they look back down again, it's the same trade setup, just now as it reverses. So on this one for me, Aussie yen, I think there's 2 trade setups. If we pop any higher, then we start playing the 50.61.8 level. We take a short at 93.27. Or if we come through and we break 91.62 to the downside, this is one of those ones where I'd actually say, this one's probably worth looking at. And again, I'll add the alert to it, but I'm gonna throw the confirmation in there, right? Confirm Harry Potter, confirm Harry Potter entry on that one, right? Because again, you're overtaking this one. I think that's a decent setup. All right, so 2 potential shorts in the Aussie yen for today. I'd throw those on your watch list. Euro yen. Euro yen, we talked about getting long, and yesterday morning we were sitting right here, and we talked about it kind of being in the middle of the range, like, there were some buyers in here, a little bit down here, and that ended up being the area where it kind of reversed off of, is right here, and it drove it deep. It wasn't the best area, and it hit it again, and it hit it again, so we're still kind of in that same range. At this point, I'm still waiting for it to come down to 101.15. You can see in 24 hours, it's moved 40 pips. The ATR on this one on a daily basis is a bunch more than that. If I click this up just so daily, the chart's going to get weird real quick. But right now it is a daily ATR of 108, right? That's the average over the last 14 days. It's moving 108 pips. Today we're at 40, right? So it's really kind of just chopping back and forth at this point. We're still kind of in that no man's land in the middle, and I mentioned that before. Again, this level now has been hit here, hit again, hit again. This is hit number 4. Not an error I'm looking to go long, and really, it really didn't rally up too much. Wait for it to come down to 101.16, and I think that's where we're able to get long. It is snuck in right past the 50, but before the 61.8, so you will have fib traders in there getting that one, trying to get into that one in time. They'll be taking a lot more risk on it. It is a level where we had a nice drop-down pullback, and then it did test once, and it did test twice, but barely touched it. It was a catch-a-falling knife scenario, so I think 101, and I'll just do this, just make it a little easier, right? 101.16 is where I think we're getting in euro dollar wise. Euro pound, a lot of chop. And look at this. We boxed it off yesterday as being the bottom. Yesterday we were sitting right here. We went down, we came back up. Same level, went down, same sellers, went back up again, and we're at the same spot. In 24 hours, now it's up to 10 pips, so we're like really starting to cruise a little bit. But we're still kind of in that sideways movement. And again, the fact that we got really, we were kind of, I would say probably in this range. Now we're even shrinking down where it's like, wow, in the last day we've been stuck in this range right here, right? It's more sideways movement. So I want this one at this point. If I had my way for this one right now, with everything happening tomorrow, right, we do have an interest rate rise coming in, and it's expected to be 0.75. I'm actually starting to look for a trap to start to form in this one. I'm looking for a slow grind to come higher up. And what I'm kind of thinking tomorrow is today, right? Today in this one, we continue to see kind of, I don't know. I think the trap can go either way, right? If we push up, again, we're setting it up for tomorrow for the Europeans to start giving strength before the rate rise. If we push down and we see dollar strength, this is the market that's going to be preparing for the news. If we're sitting down here tomorrow, and again, the news is coming in right here, right? Yeah, right there. Right there. If we push and kind of roll back down again, and we're on the low side of this, I would be looking to go long the euro pound, which is pound weakness. Because the way that I look at this right now, it's expected to go 0.5. It's pretty much factored in right now. So if they jump 0.5, every retail trader out there in the world is going to try to go long this position, right? Because, oh my God, it was a 0.5 jump. This is awesome. The market already expects 0.5, so it's factored in. If they, again, I doubt they're going 0.75. I doubt they're going up to 2%. That would obviously be something we can't plan for. But if there's 3 potential scenarios, right? One of them is they go 0.75, right? Increase, bring it up to 2.0. That's obviously a pound strength type scenario. If they come in at 0.75, that's what the market already expects, but retail traders will see that as a huge jump, and it should be a great little short setup for us. If they come in at 0.25, the market grossly overestimated it. It should also be a lot of pound weakness because it didn't raise it as much as what it thought because the market has not factored it in. So 3 potential scenarios. 2 of them are negative for the strength of it. 1 of them is positive. So again, I kind of like the trap setup on this one. And again, if we continue to drive back down, it could be a potential scenario. If we drive up, I think the Europeans, like if we do one of these things, I think the Europeans are the ones that set the trap and then they push it down ahead of time and then kind of take off. So definitely one to watch. I think there's going to be some trickery going on in the euro pound in the next 24 hours. So just watch out for it for that interest rate rise. Now, euro yen. Yesterday morning, we were sitting right here, and we talked about this one rallying up back into the 23.6. You can see it got up there late last night and then started to have some major problems. And again, I think this one is also, again, a byproduct of everything that's going on with the yen and Taiwan. And really, it started to roll back down again. And then 9 hours ago is when Taiwan said, hey, they're invading. And that's what kind of gave it a little bit more weakness out there. And again, you typically, whenever there's anything going on with Taiwan and China, the yen tends to get weaker. So we talked about this area. It gave us a little bit of a rollback, but it's been very, very choppy. So at this point, I would just say, hey, listen, take it off. Again, the 23.6ers definitely got stopped out in either direction. It didn't really go anywhere. The level where we're at right now, I would say there is a level sitting just a little bit higher. It is tested, and that's kind of what we're banking, hitting off of right now. It doesn't coincide with any fib levels, so it's purely an area where we saw some basing and then we had some sellers coming to confirm it, and we're seeing it right now. So, we got a little bit more room to run. You know, if we get a little bit more of a pop, and again, this one may move because of what we're seeing in the euro, right? In the euro pound, if we see some more strength as they're moving the dollar, or, I'm sorry, the pound around, we may get the push up again. And then again, as the yen starts to kind of fight back again, and the euro weakens versus the pound, we may see it roll back. But really, right now for me on this one, the only real main setup that I have on a watch list right now is this 133.06. It was an area that's a little bit lower. As I said, people trying to get in this trend continuation. Unfortunately, right now with the yen, it's falling into it has a geopolitical event kind of contagion, and I hate a geopolitical event is one of those things like a war, something like that. Those are things that you cannot prepare for because it could happen at any time, right? We saw it with the Ukraine, right? And again, the conflict that could be that eventually everybody expected to come with Taiwan, um, you know, it's one that is again, I think something that is a real possibility, right? It's something we can't plan for. It's just it's just one of those things. Pound dollar. Okay, so pound dollar. Yesterday we talked about a Harry Potter. We didn't really get it, and this is again not an entry. It came down, spiked up, and touched it, and then immediately started to run back up. So we really didn't really give us the basing in there. And again, the basing was super late at night. We're kind of coming back in that same area. I'd like it to see it come down and actually base where it's not touching it. Um, Again, it's hit it. It drove through. We know that it can go deeper, so some people want to take this one short. Again, I think right now with the pound, it's kind of positioning itself for tomorrow. If you are getting short this position, again, you're looking for it to come down to 120.83. So we're looking for the entry. This did not trigger for me because it came down. It opened here and came back up and touched it, so that candle didn't count. And then almost immediately went right back up into that zone. So it didn't give me the real great triangle. Again, we're not, in looking at here, you're like, wait, it did. It's like, nah, the wicks are touching. It's kind of, it had like a one candle base there. It was very, 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 very shy. Um, right now, it looks like it wants to drive back down again. But if you are short this position, or if you did take the Harry Potter trade late last night, if you did an overnight, remember, with Nadex, the way we set a lot of those positions, they don't really have a stop loss on them. You're kind of protected. If you trade it inside of the spot realm, obviously we do have a stop loss. That's why we put these on there. But, you know, had you been looking for a confirmation or used a confirmation entry, this is a great example. We talk about that confirmation reversal, the red, green, red when you're looking to get short, or the green, red, green when you're looking to get long. This broke through and then drove back up into the zone. Typically, we wait for a trigger when it comes out. Okay, if I move this, you can see there's a red, there's a green. That red is not a trigger. It's dead even. And then the next candle went up and blew that up. There's a red, that green went higher. That doesn't count either. There's a red, there's a green, there's a red. Bam, there's your trigger. Where is your stop? Right there. Okay, right there is where your top is. And did it get stopped out? No. Okay, so again, this is looking at that color change as how to get into a trade when the momentum is confirmed that there is a switch. Okay, and again, we're looking to get short here, and we're always looking for more of like the near term. Where is the basing level on this one? Remember, this level you can see it is drawn from back here, and we're using that as a guideline to figure out where the bottom is. We didn't really necessarily get it. Looks like the bottom was there, but as we pulled back, there's your confirmation of the trend reversal. Okay, if I'd moved this up, there you go. You're out of the position already, right? And actually, this is what 1 to 3.8. We're already well past it. 1 to 3 is only sitting right there. So again, this is why getting that kind of confirmation entry is important. A red, green, red signifies a reversal, a pullback to where the supply zone was, and then bam, look at that. You can see the continuation. Now this is moving very, very fast. Let me see if the dollar is moving. Yeah, dollar spiking as well. Okay, so let's see. There's probably a headline out there. Oh, it's a services data. Yeah, so the services was good. Yeah, look at the services data on that one. Look at that. Right? Services data was good. And that's actually a pretty decent miss, right? It was 55. It was expected to be lower, and it came in higher than expected. Again, that justifies a larger interest rate rise. So again, yesterday, some of the data, the jobs numbers was like, Services is saying the exact opposite, right? Yeah. So again, that's why the dollar's popping. Again, we always know about the news. You got to watch out for it. So this will offer a reversal sometime today, but that's why we're getting this dollar spike. And again, that's a good number. That's a good number. That I would say that this number erases all the job stuff that we had yesterday. I would say that this is definitely, especially because it's services, right? So, look at this one. She parts Taiwan as furious China holds military drills. Of course she does. Yeah. Look at that. Um, Beijing claims as its territory why China launched military drills, summoned the U.S. ambassador, and halted some imports from Taiwan in a display of its angry protest at her visits. Our delegation came here to send an unequivocal message. America stands, yeah. Look at that. So they're already starting to hold from Taiwan. Yeah, well, yeah. Good luck. Pelosi is gonna turn Taiwan into a parking lot. So, it's unfortunate. So, there will be a reversal from this, so just watch out for it. But anyway, let's go back to the pound dollar. So again, not necessarily a surprise, and again, this is in preparation for that, So again, the news is what drove that one further. But that's how you play. That's how you play the color change. And again, a great little example of the color change. It probably pulled back to a fib level. Let's see if there was a fib level in there. Nah, it didn't make it back to the 50. It was close. Fib traders are like, man, we just missed it. So that's how it works. But again, that short's there, right? So we can remove this level now. Actually, we should probably, we can remove it now. We don't need it. Again, if you are short the position, 120.83 is where your target is. Again, I'd probably even shrink that up a little bit. I'd probably move this one if you are short and you're going to continue to hold this one and kind of run it down. Like I said, I expect it to retrace, but if you are going to stay short this one, I'd look to get your profit out on this one at 120.96. And I do think we come down there today. Like I said, this is the profit taking, bouncing it. I do think we come down. And that's where your profit target should be, the green candle behind the wall. So, and it coincides, it's just above the 50% retracement level. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if we see something like this. Kind of like a 50%er is kind of coming in there. Right? Something along those lines. In preparation for tomorrow. Okay. Again, this is actually setting us up for somewhat of a racetrack. So, right? Pound yen. So you're seeing the chop on this one. So pound yen, pretty interesting. We mentioned this level yesterday. It was 23.6. We left it yellow because it was an area where we're like, watch out for it. The fundamental reasons out there are going on. We got interest rate rises, and it was pretty interesting. Look, so 10:30, we're right here. No reversal came in. It did. It came up base, ended up using that same level. The old level became the new, but it has touched it here, touched it pretty deeply here. I'd almost look at this one and say, all right, well, this is, if we kind of figure out where the exact base is like that, this is kind of setting up almost for, hey, listen, next time we come through here, we need to look for this one to be a potential short area. That's a pretty decent racetrack there to the downside. It's got about 132 pips worth of potential profit coming in there. And again, we have moved away from a bit, so I mean, it's not the closest. At this point, I would kind of like to see this continued yen weakness to come in. I hate to say this one, but, if this is where tomorrow at 6:30, this is where the hikes are coming in, right? If this is news, if that's the news for tomorrow, I'd like to see the yen weakness continue. And then if we get that 0.75, it looks like something like this. Or God forbid they do the 0.25, and then it's kind of like this, right? Right now, for me, with this going, the market is pre-positioning it. I think this one makes sense. So, if this continues to grind higher, and maybe it looks like one of these things too. But remember, the market is saying it's going to be a 0.75 raise. They've already put it in. So when they're like, it's raised, and everybody goes, oh, you raise an interest rate, that makes you more powerful. Everybody's just going long. The market's selling its own short. And it goes to the downside. So I think it's setting up for the trap. Watch out for the pound yen. 163.65 is kind of where I'm looking for. I think that's a decent turnaround point. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD's going to remain choppiness. Look at this. We talked about this yesterday, drawing this down. We talked about if we did get a good reversal on it. Look down here at 127.83. We were sitting right here yesterday. God, is it the exact movement? It says minus 24, but we were sitting right here. Oh, you know what? Yeah. The bodies of the candles are right where price is, but it did spike up, so we're on the spike right now because it's 10:07. So yeah, we're in this spike right now. So I would say dollar CAD, not really any major movement. Can you say, is it trending right now? Not really. And I talked about yesterday how it's more low on the curve than anything else. And this was really not the best area. I think we really need this one to rally back up again, and it should be more dollar strength. And again, the news for CAD is technically, I don't know, it's technically weak. I mean, saying that there is definitely increased demand, we're back up to pre-pandemic levels. Great. That's awesome, right? But again, increasing supply is not necessarily a CAD positive event. So I would expect this one to grind. We got to get through two small levels. Really on this one right now, CAD, I'm just in a kind of a holding pattern. It's on the watch list, but I got some time. I don't think we're going to get there in the next 80 pips. I don't know. It's probably, if anything, it's 24 hours out. I think it's 24 hours out. Dollar Swiss. So, dollar Swiss. Here are the potential profit targets that we talked about in a rally up. We said we really weren't interested in getting short this one until all the way 96.96. You can see here's that first profit target. What did it do? It tagged it at 10 o'clock last night. And again, remember I just mentioned earlier, profit targets are areas where, yes, there's sellers in there, but, you know, look at that. We literally based and rolled right off the first profit target. Came back down and based and used it. This one we actually sliced through, but again, I understand why. Based off of the news we just got, it's really good. It may start to chop around here. If we can push all the way up to the 96, 96 or the 96.65, I think that's a potential kind of for a kind of a turn and roll back down again. So again, I think it'll chop either here or at the 96.55 before we get back up again. But for me, 96.65 is still kind of like an entry point on that one, especially if we're starting to burst through levels and we're doing it in this fashion. So nothing's really changed as far as analysis goes here. But look at it. There's your first one, and look at that, all the push. And now we're messing with the second one. Actually, I guess there, yeah, it's right at the level now. So can the dollar switch sustain the news push as well as a 1030 reversal and some sellers? I don't know. We'll see. But again, we talked about those as being profit targets on the top side if you were long. Again, this is why we have profit targets, because you don't want to have profit get eaten away. This one came back up, but a lot of people would have lost a bunch on the way down. Dollar yen. So, dollar yen. We got a Harry Potter set up here, and we talked about two levels. Again, whenever we see a base like this right before a level, typically as a telltale sign this is not going to be a good short, that the level's going to break because it's forming buyers there. And all it did was it broke through, kind of, again, missed the Harry Potter, came back down, grabbed it, and took off again. I would say right now, whenever this does, I don't know when it will, but 132.12, looking to take over this area here. That's a 4. There's your 3 to 1. So right now, this is what we're dealing with up top. You can see that there's a level of basing right there. Again, we're pushing into it with news. If we see the same push on everything, again, dollar index, yeah, we're pushing up into an area, and now you're starting to see it kind of pull back again. We saw buyers there, or sellers are yesterday. The news pushes in. Now the profit taking will happen. If this turns and rolls back down again, it also coincides with what we're seeing over here in the dollar yen. It's pushing up into a level. We know we're getting back up close to that 135. Just, again, use caution. Yen obviously has a geopolitical factor associated with it. Like I said, I don't know what her visit is. I'm not exactly sure why she's trying to piss off China. China on an international level actually does, as far as who recognizes Taiwan, it actually does have a justifiable reason that they could stomp into Taiwan. So, little different, and I'm not sure why that. I don't know. I really have no idea why they're trying to infuriate China in this one. No idea. I mean, you typically, what is this saying? You get more flies with honey than vinegar, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Not sure why this is, why we're throwing stones at the hornet's nest. So, yeah. But anyway, again, 135 is definitely an area for the yen. I think we start getting short. Bitcoin's having a little bit of a reversal today, and we talked about this as another level. We said we could get another bounce. I mean, it's hit it a few times, and it did. It came down late last night, hit it, bounced again, and we're back in an area of sellers. So, again, it's got a little bit more room to run. Like I said, I'm still waiting, and again, if this then that, you see a trigger below, it doesn't help day traders, but yeah, next time we break through 22.55.6, look for this one to come all the way back down to the 21 range, have a nice little fall down again. Ethereum's doing a little bit better, but it looks the same. It came down, and again, no Harry Potter entry. Didn't really give us a base, maybe right there, but I wouldn't say that any of those are really great. Again, in looking for more of a near-term base, I would say that the near-term base on this one is really kind of more in this range right now. Again, base in, hit it, based in again, hit it again. There's 3 touches in close succession. Again, this is the original one back here, and you can see how it acted as a, bottom, slice through, then it was a top, but here's kind of the more near term, plenty of room for a 1 to 3 to the downside with a break of 1563 all the way down to 1505, so lots of room to run there. Dogecoin, again, looks the same, and again, no entry, still waiting for it to go. This one looks like a break of, 65.21. And again, an easy push, profit target on this one looks like it should be right there. So plenty of room for this one for any of you doji traders. All you do is run it off of here. And again, even near term, hit, There's your level of basing. You can still use the same zone. So again, drop, base, pullback, hit, and boom. Let's go across to oil. So oil, zero surprise it pulled back. Was kind of hoping yesterday we talked about this level if we were able to pull all the way back up again. Obviously, we knew that OPEC was speaking today. OPEC saying, yup, make it 100,000 more barrels. We're good with that. We're back up again. We need to watch out. There's no infrastructure. That's why the market sucks right now. It's not actually why it sucks, but again, there's no excess supply or no excess, capacity to increase. Kind of good that we are going, the globe is going into a recession, because if we're at pre-pandemic levels right now and the world was firing all cylinders, what happens if all of a sudden we don't go into, and we're kind of in like a recession right now? What happens if we didn't go into a recession, right? What happens if we went into a boom cycle again? It's like, and this is really where the problems are, right? We're kind of in a recession. People are preparing for a recession, right? But we're already at our capacity, and there's no more capacity after this. And they want to stop using Russian oil. Like, you look to see where the future of oil prices go. It's kind of like, yeah, I'd love for them to go down, but it's like you would love to stop just using Russian oil, right? Totally, which we know we can't replace. And we're already at pre-pandemic levels before all this drama happened. It's like, man, we're at high levels before. We got no excess capacity, and you want to cut out like 28 or 38% of the actual supply that's out there. How does that work, right? Like, is America trying to get rich secretly off of oil, right? So, I don't know. But not surprised that this pushed back down again. Again, oil's more in a sideways movement. Everything right now is again, based off demand. That meager increase of 100,000, again, it's an increase, but it really doesn't tell us a whole lot because it's a very, very small amount. So, again, right now, oil traders, it's been very, very hard to trade this. It's been sideways now for 2 days. A little pop and kind of got hammered down. A little pop and again hammered back down again. 96.85 was our entry, and we just didn't get it. Natural gas is taking a breather. So we were looking for a pop, and we did. We got a pop up. We got a pull back and a push, and then again, it ran out of steam on this one. Is now basically where we were yesterday. We were sitting right here yesterday. We're basically the same spot. So we got the pop like we talked about. We got the pullback like we talked about in this new level. And again, we were looking at, when I drew this box yesterday, the red box, I was like, I'm looking for like a near-term level. Like, where is the near-term level of basing that we could have taken this one? And it looks like the level of basing was right about here, right? That would have been kind of the near level. And we kind of missed entry, went higher, and just ran into the same seller. So it hasn't exploded back. Again, it's still kind of holding firm. Again, no real headlines. You can see it's up 0.22, but it's not really. It's kind of taking its just kind of sideways movement. We do have inventories in natural gas tomorrow, so I'm kind of curious to see what they see. Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I would say I'm still bullish this one. I think we still, again, we do have some sellers, and again, this is not a horrible level. I really feel like this could be where the channel, I feel like this could be a channel that we're stuck in for a little bit, right, before we break out of the top side. Again, decent drop, decent base, nice push down, came back up, retested again, and got front run on over here, dealing with these sellers. I'd say bullish, but I think there's better opportunity out there. Now, gold taking a big hit back down again, right? And again, this is kind of one of those things. You're like, well, wait a second, why is it rolling? It's like, well, you got things over here. We're talking about demand. There's a lot, Overall, I was really hoping we get up to 1,800. Again, I was interested in getting short 1,800. We were sitting here yesterday, so we are lower. I think Bullard's comments is really what soured this. The fact that they talked about how, listen, we're going to have to maintain this for longer. It's not an instantaneous process. Like, people were like, yeah, inflation's continuing to rise. They're just not doing enough. Bullard's comments, while only considered yellow, you can see right here, 8 o'clock, and you see where this move came in. It happened at 8 o'clock. So the market was obviously watching what he said. I think things like this, to get inflation to come down convincingly, we're going to have to be higher for longer. This is not necessarily what inflation and gold traders were looking for. Again, acknowledging that it's there, he's like, listen, it's a better bet that it'll take a while for inflation to come down. So people understand it, but I feel like this shows that they are expecting this, that inflation rising is not a surprise to them. I think is somewhat more bearish for gold traders. And looking at it, you're like, yeah, again, maybe they're not clueless. Again, Bullard hasn't been clueless. But talking about this right here, to get it to come down, we're going to have to go in a convincing manner. So it's kind of one of those ones. It's like we're almost at again. It's like, it's like it's like your check engine light is on, and you're just like, I know I got like 15 miles to go. Like if you run out of gas, you're like, well, the check engine light was on. Kind of the same idea. I was really hoping though that again this wasn't going to be the top. Again, 11 o'clock, was really kind of the top. It's like, oh, just go a little bit more. We wanted to get short from the 1100 range, not, and again it rolled back, and then late last night we're just kind of there. So the data right now, the data here is not good for gold. This is in the yep, you're raising interest rates one more time. That's going to lead to this. So again, was it 9? It was 9:30 release, 10 o'clock release. They kind of knew. You can see right here, 9 o'clock with Bullard's comments, and then again at 10 o'clock, it's driving it down, and it is a justified move. This is not just a what's happening. It's absolutely a justified move based off the fundamentals of the services PMI that we just saw. So I do think if we can take a bounce down here, as I said yesterday, I think 1736 is a decent base level. We can try to get down today. That would be, if we were able to push all the way down that far today, that would be a very, very big move in gold. Not that it can happen, but that would be a very, very big move. I would say almost tomorrow, if that was the case, that there could be a reversal here. And there's a number of different fundamental factors out there that would be the reason for that. But yeah, if you guys are looking to get into gold, I think if we can get back down to the 1736, particularly off this news, and if this is a steady push down, this could be a European or even a U.S. session-based long tomorrow morning. Okay. Now silver's kind of stuck. This $20 mark, it did pull back. We talked about a basing level, and it kind of came down and came back up again. And it's I would say that yes, it is a different level of basing, but this was an old level of basing before, kind of acting as a top and a bottom, and that's where we're kind of sitting right now. For silver, you could say, well, wait a second, there's a basing. Can we take this one short? Yeah, you could, but there's a level sitting right here in silver. So I think silver is going to be playing ping pong back and forth, as you can see. I mean, typically silver does 2 times what gold does. Gold is down 0.22, silver is down it's fluctuating back and forth, but 0.15. Right now it's 1.8, it's 1.5, 1.9. They're basically in the same area. They're not 2 times or 3 times what they could be. They're basically at the same mark. So I think both of them push down a little bit. They both find a bottom and push back up again. I wouldn't say it's if I had to rate this as far as trading opportunity goes, a lot more setups right now in forex than there is right now in these commodities. The commodities are all very, very dead, minus oil, right? But again, took a huge spike up, and they just said, "Hey, we're increasing supply." It's a fundamental change in the market. You would expect it to pull back down again, and buyers look like they're going to step in. So commodities very, very, very tough around right now. VIX-wise, as we talked about, you're seeing that deterioration. The news is out. We didn't get the pop today, right? And again, it looks like they're not going crazy on the Pelosi stuff. Just a few headlines, but the market is not, not having a big issue with it. Let's drop this down and see what we got. All right. Well, we can remove fibs on that one because it came all the way back up to 78.6. We were sitting where yesterday? What's today? Yeah, you can see we pull right back in. It's kind of what we talked about yesterday, having tops and bottoms here. And again, the reason this is going down is because services. That trade was out yesterday. Let's pull that. Let's pull that. Let's see. Would there have been a pullback? Actually, there was a pullback. Yeah. Question is, no. You would have actually got into that. Yeah, there's your 930. Yeah, it hit. And 1 to 3 is right there. So you can see, again, we had that level of basing. Yeah, so there's 1 for 1 as far as opening print hits go. There's your base, there's your pullback, there's your confirmation of it. I mean, if you got really conservative, like going here, you didn't get it, but that's the zone, right? Yeah, not a bad mover. It's at 19.5 points. I mean, it moved up a total of 25 points. So, yeah, kind of a big one. But you're 1 to 3 sitting right there. So, yeah, 1 for 1 on entries, 1 for 1 on profit targets already. Let's see, NQ. Again, went higher, so we don't need the fibs on that one. 930, unfortunately, you would not got an entry. You would have had to look at this one and say, yeah, there's kind of your basing level right there. it did pull back, so you would have been looking for something long. But you know what? Unfortunately, it didn't come back to the entry level before popping higher. It was a nice trade. If you were able to get long this one, it was a nice trade. There was nothing slowing it down, so I mean, it would have been great for a profit target, but it just didn't come back enough. And now the question is, has the 1030 reversal been put in? Again, with the news, would not necessarily be surprised. Back up to 30. Pull some of these old ones out. Um, Cancel, pull, just to keep the browser fresher. There we go. All right, so price is currently playing with this right now. But what I'm really looking for, yeah, we have this area, which is so much chop in this area. So basically, let's see. I'm gonna put this right here. If we can break through there, that's a long. Let's see. The dotted line down here. Not sure why I have that one. Actually, so we're all the way up here. So yeah, we're a little area right there. Let's see. No, it's not really a great one. I mean, in all honesty, on NQ right now, there's not really a whole lot holding this one back. Curious if we pull back down again and this one rallies forward. NQ is the strongest, so I mean, it will probably maintain, but it is definitely more of an outlier up at one and a quarter right now. Unfortunately, it would not have given us a pullback at the open. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It didn't hit the basing; it was basing right before, and it exploded higher. And if you did, for some reason, get long, that's a great trade. But for me, there's no justifiable reason why at the open you would have gotten long. So I'd say 1 for 2 as far as opening setup. Still the 1 for 1 for profit targets. Definitely curious right now, being the fact that it's already turning as 12:30, if this one's going to come back down. And if so, if it comes back down and comes right there. I almost feel like if you get something cheap, that'd be worth taking a short on, right? Targeting, taking a short position and then taking it off. It's about 100 points down in NQ. Again, just such a big burst off the open. And again, playing the 1030 reversal. Let's see here. Look at this. Look at this chop. So again, we were out from profit yesterday at the open. Let's see. We don't need any of those things right now. Hmm. Actually, this one probably would have triggered as well. So there's your base. There's your 8:45, 9 o'clock push back in. There's your open. It pushed in. Let's see if this one triggered. Yeah, definitely triggered. Did it go to 1 to 3? And survey says 1 to 3 is right there. It did. Yep. It triggered in the 9:30 candle. So, yeah. So, here's two. Right, came back up again, pulled back, and then ended up... Actually, both of these peaks are higher. Right? I don't know why it's not doing that right now, but sometimes this thing drives me... I don't know what the actual trigger is for it. I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that. But yeah, so it's out here and it's out here. So this would have been another one of those ones. Again, there's your level of basing. It pulled up, it based. Starting at 8:45, it pushed back into the zone. Again, helping you establish that zone. So 2 for 3 and 2 for 2 as far as kind of entries go. But look, it is pulling back down again. It's kind of like, hey, listen, you drove at 10 o'clock. The news was bad. They're raising interest rates. And then it came back down and grabbed that level again and is now fighting. So yeah, I would say overall, I mean, there's a decent candle right here. I would say if we're able to punch up, there's probably going to be shorting in there. We know we got a level that late last night we popped off of. I'd say that, for me, this one is kind of bracketed in. You kind of got one there, and then on the opposite side right there. And we're literally right now sitting right in the middle of those two areas. So I would say this is more of a no man's land trade. Obviously, the opening print worked, but right now we're back inside of the same thing. We're becoming an inside day again. So yeah. I think if we can get up there, I think we can probably take a roll. I like this top one better than the bottom, but the bottom one is not confirmed now. So yeah, we'll see. All right, Russell. Could we have gotten it in the Russell? The problem with the Russell is there's not really a lot of basing in here. There's your 930 candle right here. So opening there. I mean, yeah, you could have said, hey, listen, there's a level of basing right there, right? The 845 candle is here. It did drive it back down again. But looking at this, like, is that really like a really strong base? Not like the other two. I think ES and YM had much better bases. This one, if you would have told me this was the ES, I'd be like, I don't really like it as much. And again, I feel like the opening prints work better on the other three. You know, kind of the holy trinity of ES and QYM. I feel like this one is not as good. I mean, here we can throw. Let's see. I'll throw it on there just to see if this one would have worked. But I don't feel like I would have taken this one. I feel like this is not it's not a strong enough base area. I mean, 1 and 3 is right there. It did technically go all the way through the top, and it hit it at 945. So it technically did work. But again, I don't want to hindsight this one and be like, look at this, guys, it worked again. I don't know. Going back and being like, okay, am I going to trade this from this level? It's a level, but if I had to rank the three, ES and YM were, again, arguably 1 and 2, depending on where you're looking at. Looking at this one here, I'd be like, I mean, it's pulling back. There's a level there, but, I'm not going to take 3 of the same exact trades. I mean, again, it triggered, went back up, and hit full profit target. So, I mean, again, you were still able to make your 1 to 3, and now we're back in exactly where we started. It's up 0.78 from yesterday, but from where we opened, right? We opened here. We're just barely a smidge up from where we opened. So, yeah. I mean, it worked, right? Had you traded the same strategy on all 4 of those, you would have got 3 entries. Three out of four of them would have had an entry, and three out of 3 of them would have hit full profit target in the first 15 to 30 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, they're there. But again, two out of the 4 I liked. 3 out of 4 triggered. 3 out of 3 hit profit target. So, all right. So that's it for today. Let's see, what is Twitter doing? Twitter's just kind of sideways. Look at that. Twitter's go to 30. Twitter's kind of stuck, and I would say watch out for that. We're talking about the markets flipping. Twitter's got sellers right above where we are, so watch that guy. Again, nice spike up today, but there are sellers that are sitting up in this 165 range. Again, if the profit taking from the open happens in Apple, again, also helps drag NQ back down again, kind of what we saw. And Tesla, the same thing. Look at this in Tesla, right? They're sellers, and we're already starting to see this one roll and flip back down again. Can Tesla push back down to the 1880 range today? I think it's a potential, right? I mean, hey, Fed's justified to raise more. Services data actually went higher. So, yeah. So, again, that would lead NQ. We've already seen NQ push up and, again, starting to push back down again. You have 23.6ers trying to get in now. And, again, we talked about a push back down to 13.015. All right, let's go and do the drawing today. Wow, we're low people today. Well, Ernest is probably not in. We know Ernest is here, but he's not in. What else we got? Got Debbie, got Marina. We have no Neuro today. Is Neuro skipping a day? Oh, Neuro's skipping a day today. All right, guys, this is how you can kind of double up on him. So, I don't know. Maybe everybody's convinced that, Will won yesterday, and Will's going to take it again. Although Will won yesterday, and Will's not here today either. So, oh, you know what? I typically leave it up to Neuro to do like the broadcast. I'll do it some days. I didn't do the broadcast today on the channel, so maybe that's why he's not in. Sean's in today. Sean, what's the weather like up now? You guys, it's probably gorgeous up there, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't do the post. It's probably where Will is. See what happens when Neuro skips. Everything goes to heck. Yeah, Sean, it's probably super nice up in there. You are right. Like, isn't August is like the ideal time, isn't it? I feel like August for you guys, it's like, yeah. Although the lake's probably at this point got to be bathwater, isn't it? I feel like the lake is going to be bathwater. So, all right. So no Neuro today. Hopefully Neuro's not sick or anything like that. And all kidding aside, hopefully he's okay. It's very odd that he misses one, but again, everybody's allowed to miss one. Vacations, everything else. So, oh, hot and rainy today. Yes, sir. It's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. I'm gonna close it down. Let's see who's got it for today. Winner of today's drawing is obviously not Will, so there's no doubles, and Neuro's not here today, so somebody's getting 50 pip chips on today's win. Winner of today's, yeah, the water's warm. Oh yeah, it's like bathwater now, right? Oh, it is here too. People are like, yeah, my pool's like 93. I'm like, why would you get in a pool that's 93 degrees? Winner of today's drawing is Rena. All right, there we go. All right, let's go to leaderboard. Let's give her 50. Oh, look at this, gaining some ground on Will. There we go, gaining some ground on Will. Only about 1,000 to go between you two. And again, Will doesn't ever spend. He's a saver. So. All right, I'm out of here. I hope you guys have a great trading day today. I'll catch you tomorrow. If you see anything or need anything, shoot me a message on Discord. I will be around today. I am picking up the babies tonight. Melissa and the kids are coming back. I pick them up at 11 o'clock tonight, so we'll see what tomorrow morning looks like. I'm sure Melissa will be dragging, although she's been waking up early, but I'm pretty sure Kipster and Jin will be sleeping tomorrow morning, but we'll see. We'll hear the little voices again. It's been 2 weeks since I've seen them, so I definitely have been missing the guys. But with that said, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for joining today, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.